Hello everyone, welcome to Hastap Makargo's channel. In today's video I'm going to cover a topic of common interest for both sides, the consumer and the repair shops. And that is related to the question, why do automotive repair shops mark up the prices of auto parts? I know that this topic causes frustration mostly on the consumer side, especially now because of the use of the internet. Now the consumer can find auto parts at a price that is a fraction of the cost of what it would cost to buy them at a regular auto parts store, and definitely what they're going to be charged by a repair shop when the repair is completed. So I'm going to explain why this happens and what amount you should be expecting as a rule, basically. First scenario we're going to go over is your local repair shop buying the parts from your local auto parts store. To make this example more realistic, picture a very small town. Very small, that there's only one auto parts store. Pick a name. It doesn't matter. Let's say your town has a Napa, an AutoZone, O'Reilly's, Advance, whichever. In this example that we're using, for this very small town, the consumer knows that there's only one place where this part came from. So let's say you took your car to your local auto repair shop because it needs an alternator. And you get a quote, and that quote that you're given by your repair shop is going to be broken down and it's going to explain to you how much is the labor and what's the cost of the part. Let's say that on that quote, that alternator is $200. $200 is the amount that the repair shop is quoting on the cost of that alternator. Now when you look at this quote, you think to yourself, $200 for an alternator? I saw one online for only $80. Obviously it's probably a different brand, but nonetheless, you're worried now that you're getting quote-unquote ripped off. Well, because your town is very small and you know that there's only one place where this alternator is going to come from, you call your auto parts store. You don't explain why, you just call the retail line and you say, I need an alternator for my XYZ vehicle. And the price that you're given, let's say $149.99. So by now you start getting upset, because not only this alternator is $80 online, and the local auto parts store, which is the very same place that this alternator is most likely going to come from and be installed in your vehicle, is $150. And your repair shop is charging you $200 for this alternator. So you're very upset. And you're thinking, this shop is ripping me off. I can't believe they're increasing the price of this alternator by $50. That is crazy. Okay, I can understand why the consumer feels that way. So now let's analyze this a little deeper. When your local repair shop calls your local auto parts store that you know is selling that alternator to the public for $150, on their invoice is going to have their cost and it's going to have suggested retail price. Now realize that this suggested retail price, it is not the retail price that they're selling it for to the public. This suggested retail price that I just mentioned, it could be the $200 that they're quoting you. It could be higher. I guarantee you it's not going to be less than $200. Now you're wondering, well, why are they suggesting a retail price much higher than what they're selling it for? And isn't this shop getting it for a lot less money? This shop may not be getting it any cheaper than what you would buy it for. Because anymore the structure of the pricing has changed drastically. In the past, shops were guaranteed a much lower price than what the retail price was. And it used to be anywhere from 20 to 25% guaranteed. So for a shop per se that didn't want to have friction, which is local customers, maybe they go to the same church or same community events, that kind of stuff, and they didn't want to create problems, it was easy to just increase the price by 25%, and they knew for sure that if that customer called the parts store, the same price would be given. But now with the different price structure that I just mentioned, it's in tiers. Repair shops have to buy different amounts to get different levels of discounts. So if their level of purchase is relatively low, they're hardly going to get any discount on most parts. And at that point they're buying that part almost for the same amount that you would if you went and bought it yourself. And now the shop can do a couple different things. Use the suggested retail price, or decide what percentage they're going to increase the price of each part on each quote. And this is going to vary greatly from shop to shop. So now let's try to understand why the shop marks up the price. Your local auto parts store, whether it's a small or a chain, is buying the parts from another source. And they're going to increase the price usually 40 to 50% on average. They have to pay their rent, they have to pay the clerks that sells the parts on the counter. they have to pay their utility bills, phone, internet, you name it. A lot of expenses, right? So for a consumer, it's easy to see why an auto parts store would do that. But for some reason, most consumers don't like the idea of the repair shops marking up the price. Think about it, that local repair shop has expenses the same way the auto parts store has. This repair shop has to pay rent, utilities, advertising, and other associated costs with operating a business. And usually these expenses are covered with the increase on prices on the parts. And especially because usually shops use a flat rate pay system to compensate their technicians. But that's a whole different subject. So now let's go over the benefit of you allowing the shop to get the part, in this case this alternator, installed in your vehicle for this quote-unquote $50 higher than what you would get it for. Your repair shop is probably going to give you a guarantee. Let's say a 1-year guarantee on parts and labor. And let's say that within 6 months this alternator fails and it needs to be replaced. You take it to your local auto repair shop that installed it in the first place, and they replace it completely for free. Doesn't cost you anything. They cover parts and labor because they give you the 1-year guarantee. On the other hand, if you bought this part, let's say you get a lifetime warranty on this part, if you did the repair yourself, you would take that alternator back to your local auto parts store and they would swap it for you, giving you a new one in exchange. It wouldn't cost you anything either. However, you would have to do the labor yourself again, and usually this is not covered under the warranty. However, in some cases, if a consumer is upset enough and demands that they're compensated for labor, they can submit a claim and an auto parts store may go ahead and just take care of it in order to keep the consumer happy. But this is not the norm. And remember, on the invoice that you were given by your local repair shop, it was stated right there what guarantee you were getting. And your local repair shop that just replaced your alternator for free could submit a claim to the local auto parts store and get refunded for the labor. This is going to vary depending on what kind of agreement the shop has. Usually the auto parts chains will honor a warranty if it is stated on the invoice that the repair shop gives to the customer. But then again, like I said, this is going to vary and it's a whole different subject. So to wrap the video up and not make it so long, remember, marking up the price of the parts is a standard procedure and it's going to be done by just about every single shop. And these amounts are going to vary. And yes, you can buy your own parts from whichever source you want and take them with you and ask them to just charge you for the labor. But you have to realize when they do this, if the part fails, it's on you. You're going to have to pay them their labor again. And if the repair is expensive, let's say $500 or more, the $20 that you saved on the part, and now it's going to cost you $500 6 months down the road, may not look like a great idea. So try to think about those things and make a wise decision. And try to support your local repair shops. Remember, they have a lot of expenses. If you take away part of the profit, it's going to be a lot harder for them to be in business. This is a two-way street and a mutual understanding. Thank you for watching today's video. See you next time.